This video contains discussions of violent crime and homicide, among other topics some might find upsetting. Viewer discretion is advised. At about 11:30 a.m. on the 14th of February 1978, a man was jogging along Proxy Valley Road in rural Otay, San Diego County, California, when he caught sight of something lying on the pavement. When he came nearer, the man realized what he was looking at was a heap of charred human remains lying on their back. Undoubtedly horrified, the jogger immediately ran 50 minutes to the nearest sheriff's department to inform them of his discovery. At around 1 to 1:30 p.m., the police began their investigation into the death. An autopsy revealed the person, found to be female, had been deceased for around 2 to 5 days before discovery. She had been set on fire post-mortem after being doused in a flammable liquid. Most of the burn damage was clustered around her groin, the right side of her chest, and her hands, which were too badly burned to retrieve fingerprints. There was minimal to no fire damage to the decedent's face and limbs. This made it apparent that the girl had been badly beaten around the face, with extensive bruising to her left cheek, the back of her head, and one of her eyes, which was swollen shut. Several sources make reference to her being tortured, though none go into any detail about what constituted this torture. I've also seen references to evidence of, quote, long-term abuse of this girl, but I gather this is an assumption made due to the extent of her facial injuries. The cause of death could not conclusively be determined, but since a high level of the opioid drug pethidine was found in her system, it was ruled a likely homicide by poisoning. In the US, pethidine is a Schedule II drug due to the high risk of addiction and dependency. The level of pethidine found in her system was described as dangerous. The overdose would have been highly sedating and probably impaired her consciousness. At high enough levels, an overdose of pethidine can cause respiratory depression, respiratory arrest, and eventual death. The victim was determined to have been a white female between the ages of 14 and 18, but most likely under 16. At 5 foot to 5'1", she weighed between 85 and 105 pounds. Her brown, shoulder-length hair was highlighted red and worn in a ponytail, tied with a rubber band. Her exact eye colour couldn't be determined due to decomposition, but sources indicate they were possibly brown. Both ears were pierced. Notably, her right ear was, quote, deformed, being slightly smaller than the left ear. She'd had extensive dental work performed throughout her life, including a root canal on her lower right front incisor, which was also cracked in half when she was found. The decedent wore blue or black denim bib overalls with either a white halter top or a white long-sleeved midriff blouse with a blue floral pattern. No socks or shoes were present. As no form of identification was found on the decedent, the first step for investigators was to comb through missing people. Unfortunately, it seems that no matching missing persons reports were ever filed. Since no one stepped forward to tell police her name, the trail went cold very quickly. An article in the Santa Cruz Sentinel, published just 10 days after the discovery of the body, reads as follows. A teenage girl whose badly burned body was found on Valentine's Day remains unidentified, and authorities trying to find out who she is are beginning to think nobody cares. Compared to similar cases, this poor girl has received very little media attention over the years, which is shocking to me given the utterly brutal nature of her death. There are rumours floating around that law enforcement did know the victim's identity, but they publicly withheld the information because the victim's family were under investigation and they didn't want to alert them to that fact. This information apparently came from a retired sheriff who worked as a border control agent in Otay in the 1980s. I wouldn't put too much stock into it, however, as it is pure hearsay. I wanted to mention this, however, as it's pretty much the only lead in the case that I could find any mention of. There's another theory I've seen mentioned online regarding the fact that the burning of her remains seemed targeted towards specific areas of her body. While her limbs and face were almost entirely untouched by the flames, her groin in particular was very badly burned. Some individuals have posited that this could have been done in an attempt to cover up a sexual assault. Again, I want to emphasize this is pure speculation, and neither the authorities nor the media have ever made any reference to sexual assault in this case. I just wanted to mention this theory as it may shed some light on the potential motive of this murder. There's also been talk of this being an accidental killing, as homicide by opioid poisoning is really quite uncommon. I do wonder if the pethidine was administered only with the intent to sedate, while this poor girl was so viciously attacked, but maybe the attacker administered too much and unintentionally caused her death by overdose. Again, it's not confirmed, but it's something to think about, if nothing else. In 2014, police put out a renewed appeal for information, coinciding with the release of a new facial approximation sketch of the victim and her unique ear. Sadly, this led to no new tips. In 2017, the still unidentified girl's case file was added to the Nameless database. I'm sure most of you know what this is, but if you don't, it's the USA's largest online database of missing, unidentified, and unclaimed people. As of March 2025, no missing person rule-outs are listed on Otay Jane Doe's Nameless page, which is quite strange for a case this old. The San Diego County Sheriff's Office has apparently been contacted to inquire whether this girl was cremated, as that was reportedly standard practice for unidentified decedents found in California during the 70s. In 2021, it was reported that officials declined to comment on this matter, with their response being something along the lines of, well, we can't say. In any case, the Sheriff's Office has supposedly stated that DNA testing is, quote, impossible in this case. They don't have a DNA sample on file, and for whatever reason, they can't obtain one. With the decedent's fingerprints being burnt away, the only way she can ever be identified is through dental comparison. In December 2024, a new digital facial reconstruction for Otay Jane Doe was released by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, so it does appear that authorities are still actively working on this case. It's reassuring to know, at least, that they haven't given up on her. Due to the lack of DNA, it seems unlikely that a breakthrough will be made in this case anytime soon. That doesn't mean, however, that identification is impossible. As long as her story keeps being shared, and as long as she keeps being talked about, there is hope. Anyone with information regarding Otay Jane Doe should contact the San Diego County Sheriff's Office at 858-974-2321, making reference to case number 543957. If you wish to remain anonymous, you can call Crime Stoppers at 888-580-8477. Anonymous emails and text messages can be sent via sdcrimestoppers.org. San Diego County Crime Stoppers has offered a $1,000 reward to anyone with information leading to the identification of Otay Jane Doe's killer. And that, I'm afraid, is all I can share for now. Thank you very much for giving Otay Jane Doe a moment of your day.